All right. I call the Public Safety and Public Works Committee meeting to order. Yeah. The minutes of October 9th. Hope everybody went through the minutes. No questions. We have Department of Public Safety appointments to the Construction Board of Appeals. Caleb O'Toole. Public Safety, you're up there. Caleb O'Toole, appointment to the Construction Board of Appeals.
Okay. That's some smart peppers.
Caleb is a graduate of our fire academy. He graduated a year ago. He is the building inspector for the city of St. Joe and SOTUS, and came to us with some interest in being involved. He's the way I look at it is he brings to us not only the building side of things, but the fire safety side of things as well, and I think would be a good addition to that board. We need people on it, and he's interested and very qualified.
Caleb with us today. Hey, Caleb, nice to meet you. You want to come say a few words to us? I know you're a Detroit Lion fan, or I can tell. Yeah. Thank you. Go ahead. Tell us about yourself a little bit. And
My name is Caleb O'Toole. Like Kaz said, I'm a building inspector for the city of St. Joseph. I also do it for Sodas Township. I've been registered with the state for the last 3 years. I am ICC certified in commercial, residential, and plans examiner. I've been in construction since a young age. I worked with my father for, I believe, close to 16 years. So my mom used to work here back in the 90s, so I'm familiar with a lot of Benton Harbor. Grew up here to start out, so just happy to help where I can.
Thank you. Can we tell us a little bit more about the Construction Board of Appeals?
Please,
About, okay.
please.
Yeah, so the Construction Board of Appeals is created when there's a dispute between a permit holder and the building official for the municipality. If there is a interpretation concern, every applicant has the right to seek an appeal. That board is that appellate body. So I believe there's 3 people now on that board.
That's correct. But with room for 5, I think.
Okay, so more people on the board gives more of a well-rounded review of the concern, and with more, we'll say, qualified people, I believe they have the best chance of getting an interpretation back in a better fashion.
And each board member is qualified. You have to have qualifications to be on this board too, right? And
Standardly.
question, I'm glad you, I can't give you my hat, but thank you.
I got mine in the car.
Thank you so much. Any questions for Commissioner Henry?
Can this board function at 3 members?
Cass, yes.
It's 3 members now, so I guess the answer to the question is yes. And I don't, you guys probably don't remember that all this came through here and was approved by the appointments by the commission. One of the things I will say is that currently we are not using the Construction Board of Appeals as we should, because right now you have Kaz and city manager are fielding building complaints that should go. We have actually 2 complaint processes actually in writing in place. So we need to push those things through the proper channels. And you might not have been here, Mr. Gunner, but we can give you the Construction Board of Appeals, all the documentation on that. Matter of fact, there is some bylaws that we were hoping that the clerk would call a meeting of them so they can pass their own bylaws that were looked at. But let me unmute when I say. The clerk hopefully will, when he gets on, will be able to do that. But ultimately, what we're trying to do is get that operating properly. That's a buffer, obviously, between the initial application and then my office, his office. So we bring another person with experience to help us out at. But I will get that to you so you can be caught up on the Construction Board of Appeals. We have to have one by law, in the state of Michigan, and we didn't have one for a long time. So we have members on it, and we're going to start using it.
Who are the current members of the board?
One is Daryl Jackson, the other one is Dylan Barnes, and the other one is somebody from Albemarle. Tim Drews. Yes.
Four. That's three. With him. So, Honorable Chair, this board has been just not functional. And we have some citizens that have some concerns about construction. And it has had them for a year or more. And so, really need for us to beef up, go faster with the process, set it in place so we can start operating so that people feel like that they will have someone to consider their concern. And then my personal thought about it is that I hear there's 2 Benton Harbor residents on the board, that we go after more Benton Harbor residents because of the connection with the community. But this needs to be done immediately. No more kicking the can down the road with this. And that's the second time I heard them say that it was mandatory by the state. But we're still dealing with it, and it's not done yet.
Thank you, Commissioner Henry. Cass, when citizen have a complaint, what's the process in this? Citizen have a complaint about some kind of construction. I don't know how the process work. The board, they take it to the Board of Appeals and say the contractor did something wrong or something. How did it work?
Yeah, the way, and I think we're talking about 2 different things, I believe. I think we're talking about an actual citizen resolution process, and then there's also the Construction Board of Appeals. So there's a few things here, and I'm actually over my word limit for tonight. But there's a, as far as actual Construction Board of Appeals, that is dealing with, say if somebody comes in, they want to do, they want to build a building, or they want to add an addition, or they're going to do a porch, and there's a pond, whatever. They get the permit for that. The building official goes, does his thing, and says, hey, you need to do X, Y, and Z. In addition, they'll say, well, I don't think I need to do that. Building official will say, well, you do. Then they can start that appeals process. Then it comes before the board. Now, to Commissioner Henry's point, we went on a mad recruiting surge. The first 3 we got was probably after asking about 20. So, and the addition to that is, and you said something, again, I didn't want to get way into this, but the statute says that the members have to be qualified. There is nothing that defines what qualified is. So if you recall, we had an opinion from our attorney for everyone to be affiliated with the board to have construction experience, but also certified. So everyone that's on the board now currently are certified in whatever they do. So he is a certified builder, I believe, probably.
Licensed builder, licensed
Licensed builder, yes, I'm sorry, using the wrong word. Yeah, so, and a lot of people that we talked about were already busy and happy doing their own work. And they're like, oh, you want me to take on something else for the city? Not so much. So that's why we have just now kind of building it slowly. And here's a good resource. He's also a firefighter. Maybe someday he'll come and fight fire with the real department. Oh. So now getting to Commissioner Juanita Henry of Union. One of the things that actually I want to bring for discussion, but not tonight, because again, I'm already well over my word limit for the night, is having, because right now we're dealing with, okay, I don't know how many, at least 2 neighbor disputes going back and forth. To have a discussion of a conflict resolution, something for our citizens. Now, with that being said, when we brought the idea several years ago about the CRB, it was dealing with, from our perspective, making sure that we do what we're supposed to do as an organization, but in addition to also maybe have the ability to help lay norms and standards for citizens, and even maybe be an avenue for that board for citizen issues. So again, we're down from that, but that was kind of the thinking. That's where we are. I'll get you the documentation you're looking for in reference to this.
Go ahead, Mr. Gunther.
I'd like to make a point of clarification. It's been a long time since we started talking about this, but the important thing to understand, this isn't a complaint process. This is a part of due process for the people who may take issue with an enforcement action that we're undertaking or whatever. And if you can recall back, because I know it's been quite a long time ago, in the absence of a construction board of appeals, everything, because each person who has a problem does have a right to due process. In the absence of a construction board of appeal, that means it has to go to court. And court means a long, drawn-out time period even to get a hearing. But if it goes through this process, the law allows that to be treated as their due process, and we can proceed and move some things along that are just getting held up and not moving.
Go ahead, Mr. Gunther.
So with Caleb, what's your last name one more time? With Mr. O'Toole's appointment, I guess it's 2-part. How does that affect a quorum? And what is the likelihood that we could appoint a 5th person to mitigate that if that is an issue?
You wouldn't know that, remember, we should put him on the board. But so, as long as you gotta have 3 to 5. So, if, and that's why we need more, obviously. So if we don't get Seguin or Darrell, then we still need to be able to act. So I don't have those bylaws in front of me, because I didn't know this was going to be the agenda, but, yeah, I'll see you all.
Thank you, Mr. O'Toole. We'll be sending that to the full body for a vote. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks for your consideration.
Thank you for the clarity.
Thank you. Number 2, we have approval of disallowance of carrying weapons in or on city of Benton Harbor buildings, facilities, and grounds.
And Mr. Chairman, if I might, I drafted this to start to move it through the process. You'll recall some time back, you all in the commission asked that we look into this. In reviewing it with Director McGinnis and Deputy Clark, we've got some pieces that we still need to get finished in order to make it where we want it to go, and Sarah, the city attorney, is also looking at it. So we've asked Mike to get with Sarah to make sure we put the finishing touches on it in terms of the law behind it and so forth so that we have it perfected. But I wanted to have it up for discussion. Any suggestions, input, ideas you have, or questions?
Commissioner Henry.
I just wanna talk to the chief about it. Are we duplicating something that's already on the books? Are we doing something that's, needs to be done that's not there? Or are we opening up a door? So that's my question through the chair to the chief. Oh, he can't do it. Let him do it. Let the other one do it.
One thing I would like to clarify, Chief asked me the question, are we talking about something where somebody is supposed to check everybody that comes in? And my answer to that was no, that's not what we're trying to do. It's so that if a problem occurs and someone is found to be in violation, there's an enforcement mechanism to deal with them. It's just like the laws regarding speed limits. There's not a cop sitting at every speed limit sign, but when you do get caught, the law is on the books and they enforce it.
Okay, so we'll start with signage or something. I know as soon as you step in the building, there'll be a sign say no weapons, no, or whatever.
That's the intent.
Representative.
Thank you. Does this include parks? So it says city buildings, facilities, and grounds. Does that exclude any city property, or is that all inclusive?
It's intended to be all-inclusive.
You had a question, Ms.? You had a question? Oh, okay.
Is that parks?
Yeah, parks is part of city grounds.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We don't want weapons carried on the parks either.
Is there, an answer from our election staff there about, are we reproducing a ordinance or law that's already on the books? I'm just trying to get an understanding, so I make sure that we're not opening any doors for, anything in the future that we're not prepared for.
Chief McGinnis or Deputy Clerk, could you get that from Commissioner Henry? Union Street.
Because we're not part of the 9 exempt pistol-free zones by statute, by state statute, we can add this to our books. We have to post signage. Unfortunately, there's not a tremendous amount of enforcement that results from it because it's the way that the law is written. But it allows us, if we see it, we can ask somebody to leave the property, the premises, whatever. But we'd have to make sure that it's clearly posted at every city site, that it's a pistol-free zone, much like what you would see if you go to Celebration Cinema, for instance. It's on their front doors.
So I have a concern about the park one, because if I'm a licensed CPL holder, and say I take my kid to a park, I'm carrying legally, right? So if in the event that, the worst happens, what am I, to run back to my car, or like, that kind of presents a lot of challenges for a licensed CPL holder too.
The way it's written, and the way that the state law is written, this is something that it's a tough situation. But if we're gonna make it for all city properties, we probably need to make it a blanket policy unless you as the governing body decide to make it by specific site, that's your discretion. But if something were to happen and you were to defend yourself, it would not add any state charges. It's a tough area to be in. But, because again, we're not part of the 9 pistol exempt zones by statute. So that's why we got to work with the city attorney a little more to make sure there's some different clarification and that we have the wordage and verbiage of the law just right, or the ordinance just right.
Could you clarify what the 9 pistol exempt zones are?
Schools or school property, churches, unless you have permission from the presiding official, casinos, schools or school property, goodness gracious, I'm off the top of my head, and I teach this class every day. University classrooms, hospitals, dorms, what else? Public or private child placing agencies or daycares. I think that's it. Now, I will say though, before we go any further, and we need to check with our own legislature, because there are 2 current laws working through the state right now to change pistol-free zones in the lame duck session. So that may affect us, it may not too. We have to there's some more work that needs to be done on this.
Okay, Representative Fields.
I believe Gunter asked. I was going to ask whether it referred to those that were actually licensed to carry.
Any more questions about Commissioner Henry?
I just want to throw one little question in there. What about open carry? Michigan is an open carry state. Now, how do we, it's getting confusing to me. So I need, before we push something through, I need to understand. I'm going back to the Constitution, so I need to understand this. We need to understand where we're going with this. I don't want it to open any doors that's gonna cause us a problem later on. So I know the staff is gonna work at this until they get it perfect, and I'm glad that they keep bringing it back to us so we can throw our little bit in. But that's a big question to me about open carry.
Well, I'm sure we're going to work with the attorney, and go ahead, City Manager.
And I'd just like to add the comment that, you know, I've been in a number of other states, a couple of them where you can walk around the street with your gun on your side like you were in the Wild Wild West. You don't even have to conceal it, just walk around with it on your hip. But they still have the right to designate certain places depending upon their laws that are exempt from it. And just because somebody has a concealed weapons permit doesn't say everything about that person. Do we want people able to just walk around through the parks among our kids with guns just because they got a concealed weapons permit? Or do you want them necessarily even in the air? It's just because they've got a, you know. So those are the issues. But if the commission decides they don't want to be bothered with it, want to throw it out, it won't make me mad. I just did what they asked.
All right, we'll keep this rolling to the next committee and work this thing out. Do we get anything from public safety? Do we get any comments before we move on about what's going on in the city? I know everybody didn't get a chance to look at could we get a couple words on public safety, please? I know you're over your word limit, but can you give us at least 100?
What kind of words do you want to hear?
Just get Commissioner Henry of Union Street some updates on what's public safety. She'd like to hear that.
My favorite department.
Well, Commissioner Isom. So First of all, greetings all. I got whacked in the head, so I'm still might be concussed. But, one thing I guess my concern is, so everything is, for the most part, has been pretty good for us the last month or so, over a month. But we talked about this, very uncomfortable with the rash of vehicle break-ins. 17. Yeah, and that doesn't include the 8 stolen vehicles. So they are, I'm sorry, what'd you say, sir? Stolen vehicles, 8. And then the actual burglaries to the vehicles are 17. So, matter of fact, I don't know if whoever he is wants to speak to it, because he has a personal experience with this. But we're seeing groups of kids that they're just testing cars. They either, if they can steal them, they'll steal them. If they can get stuff out of them, they're stealing like change and what they can get hand-wise. And we'll have Deputy Director Clark to talk about the importance of locking one's car.
Yes, so late last night, oh, see, that's what happened to the other guy. Late last night, early this morning, one of my cars they'd gotten into one of my cars, and the security lights that I have on my house, I think, scared them off. But they also hit significantly in the 1800 block of Ogden and on Emory. So it's a group of 2 or 3 kids, and they're just walking down the street in the dark, trying different things. So trying to see if cars are unlocked or anything else. I assumed my doors were locked, and I didn't double check, and I should have. So luckily, nothing was removed, so that was good. But that's been going on. And the other thing with some of the stolen cars is people are still leaving keys in their cars. So the push button starts, the kids jump in, they just hit the button, the car starts up, and off they go. So take your keys in the house, don't leave them in your car, lock your doors, don't leave valuables in your car. You know, that's the important message for today, so.
Is this like late in the morning? How does, they just walk around in groups late in the morning, just?
So I'm going to let him continue. So we have been actually chasing people. We've been getting calls from citizens about suspicious people. We think they're on foot, they're in vehicles. He knows more. He's being modest because he can't remember his name.
So last night, where I'm at in the township, it was about midnight. When they hit Emory and the 1800 block of Ogden, it was about 2-ish. And I know Benton Township and our guys were looking. There was a stolen car that had run from both agencies last night. So they were unable to track it because it was moving pretty quick. So they're still on the lookout. I know this morning, the day shift crew did recover one stolen car in Ogden, in the 1200 block of Ogden. So they're out there. And the guys are looking. It's just, people walking down the street and seeing what they do.
And I heard a lot of hot rodding going on, like NASCAR-like sounds last night. Somebody stole a car or somebody just, I'm talking about loud, revving up engines, burning rubber.
Every night.
That could have been it, or that could have been some other antics that we've been dealing with in the city, so.
More question for public safety. Oh, go
I
ahead.
got one more thing I want to add
Oh.
before we take some questions. So just so for the citizens know, and we'll talk about this, we'll chat with the chief, I'm going to talk to Chief Greg and see if they've had the same, well, obviously they have. But we're looking at concentrations of, for example, 1200 block of Jennings hit the same night, like literally across the street. 1200 block of Superior, 1000 block of McAllister. So we see them in that 10 to 1200 block, Jennings, McAllister, Superior, Union, 1071. And then additionally, we have, of course, on Empire, which is, of course, right there, 300 block of Empire, 8th Street, even 400 block of Broadway. So, you know, looking at these, a couple of things we see. People are riding around, some may be on foot, but we're looking at, that is for the vehicles that have been broken into. And we look at the vehicles that have been actually stolen, again, Bellevue, 500 block of Broadway, Forest. So still even have something going on the north side. Again, 1064 Pavone, that 1000 block in that area. You must got something over there that they really like, your side of town, Commissioner.
Drugs.
I was thinking more like working class people with nice cars, was what I was thinking. 566 May Street, Thrasher. So we're seeing concentrations. So we're letting our guys know, South Side, be aware. And here's the thing. This is where it becomes a catch-22. We talk about quote-unquote profiling. If you're walking around in the dark, we've had calls of people walking around with masks on and sweatshirts, walking around with flashlights. Guess what? That's a stop. I got to at least see what you're doing. So I even personally got a call of downtown, the owner of one of the companies that, you know, down here called, again, a young individual walking, looking into windows of buildings. So we just need people to call. And I know right now, if we can get more people to have, you know, the house cameras, and then there's a thing, and like that, Mike, he can explain to you better than I can, how you can share cameras or share cameras with each other, or the police department. Should be helpful, but speak to that, whoever you are.
So if you have the Ring cameras, the Ring branded, or any of the Amazon-based cameras, they all contribute to what's called the neighborhood. And on the portal that's on your cell phones, you can post things to your neighborhood. And it won't put your address on there, but what it'll do is it will send out a message to everybody within a certain radius of your camera. So, for instance, today somebody posted about the cars getting broken into, and somebody posted about a lost dog, and somebody posted about just some people walking down the street. So it's a nice way to share information. We also see those posts if they're related to our agency. So I know St. Joe Township has their program on their neighborhood too. So we can see those posts, and then we can either correlate them or follow up on them or whatever.
Thank you. Any more questions? Go ahead, Ms. Commissioner Kennard. Commissioner Kennard.
Talk up now, because we got to hear you.
I will. And I think everyone can hear me? You can't hear me? Okay. What I'd like to ask, is this being public safety, and I've asked before, concerning the tree right there at my garden. Limb had fell once on a car, and, it just missed the link that was in the vehicle. And, that tree had been there for a long time, and it's down now. But this particular tree that I've asked, and I'll ask to Commissioner Ison, I'll ask to you to ask Amamash representative about the tree. Where are they standing with that tree that was supposed to have come down, months ago?
City Manager, can you respond to Ms. Kennard and the tree?
Yes, I can. I'm going to have the employee that works for me, who is certified in dealing with trees of all types, to look at that situation and see if there's any problem with it. I don't believe there is, but we'll check it and find out anyway, and then we'll determine from there what to do.
All right, Ms. Kennard, how's Commissioner?
Black and white, so if that tree should fall, that, this particular date is documented, that this was the answer that I got.
City Manager?
I don't have a problem with the answer, but if that tree is on your tree lawn, you're responsible for it.
No, you taking down all the trees all the way down Main Street there. And that tree was taking part of the roots off as you prepared the sidewalk. And then in the curbside, partially taken off from the work being done. So why is this my problem that was created when the roofs was taken off, and I knew they had to be taken off in order to level the sidewalk? So why, out of all the trees that was taken down Main Street, this particular tree was left?
Chief McGinnis, you got some words for this?
I did, sir. Actually, it wasn't done. Nothing to do with the tree lawn conspiracy. The last thing I was going to say is we need to really consider getting back to our block club initiative. And one of the tools that neighbors can use, there are some communication tools like his name is actually, what is your name? Clark said that you can post information amongst your neighborhood. There's a app like where I live, Nextdoor, where you can put something out there. My dog, like I said, my dog is missing. Hey, somebody's walking down by the lake, where we can communicate. So let's not lose momentum on this discussion of if we can arm ourselves better as far as looking out for each other, our neighborhoods, safety, cameras, lights, parking, locking our cars, that we can start to not only communicate and share information with each other, but also start to take some of these other folks off the street when we see anybody that might have some clues as far as breaking in cars or houses. That's the last thing I was going to say, but again, I want to make sure, and I'm looking for the commissioners to help in your particular area to find a group or block or a street that would want to start some block clubs, so we can come in on Saturdays and meet with them and talk to them and get those things going.
Yay,
Yeah, you've been on the commission 27 years. You must be yay.
yay, I'm glad that we're gonna do that.
That's a good idea. Working together, we can get things done in a better way of watching over our neighborhood, because that night Detroit Lions won that game, I had a little flag in the front of my house, and it's gone. Nah, it's gone.
I took it, I'm sorry.
City Manager, did you answer Ms. Commissioner
Go
Kennard?
Detroit.
Ms. Kennard, Commissioner Kennard, did you get the answer you wanted?
Want a statement from our clerk that it be written in black and white.
What be written in black and white? Can you
I'll repeat it if need be so you can record it.
go ahead and repeat it?
And basically, I'm going to have
It will be in the minutes.
tree professional look at it. If we've weakened it and created a problem, then we'll deal with it. If not, we won't.
It'll be in the minutes. Representative Fields.
Two things. One was in response to Chief actually talking about the neighborhood watches. It's one of the programs that I plan to have an initiative with in regards to the neighborhood. So it's great that you talked about that. So I'm circling back to you in regards to the neighborhood. Secondly, I wanted to thank Chief. Actually, we, as in the Unified Civic Monuments Project, had an issue in regards to almost basically being honest to say dropping the ball in regards to road blockage for the march. Chief came back from vacation, and basically it was less than 2 weeks to get that figured out with MDOT. And if anybody knows, the city has to submit that request. An individual or entity cannot. And so, I mean, luckily, or not luckily, we have the insurance through Krazel that, with that collaboration with them. So we have the insurance portion that is needed. Otherwise, Chief and Lisa handle the rest. And I really do appreciate it. Like, seriously, we know Chief and staff are all very busy, and it wasn't so much as a favor, it was something for our community as a whole. And so actually, I can take this time to do that plug. So if you're not attending or was not aware that MLK the 3rd will be here, they're marching from, and MLK the 3rd will be a part of this, from the St. Joe Monument, which is at the top of Silver Beach before you start taking that curve, over to City Center Park, which is where our monument will be. And then we're actually having food for free, food trucks and food vendors will be at LMC, which is where the final talk would be. And again, that's November 19th. If you need more information, the website, unifiedmonuments.com.
just jumping off that, thank you, Chief, for, I know you was, I was all up on you, wasn't I? I know you heard me. Well, thank you. Public Works, Public Safety. Thank you. We're gonna move on.
If I might, sir, I'd like to just
City Manager?
make a statement of reestablishing block clubs. I think it's one of the most significant and important things that we can do in our community. And I really think it not only is City of Benton Harbor, but I think between both communities because it runs right from one to the other.
Its funds can be allocated from HUD or the CBG money for block clubs, City Manager? Somewhere, though. I was part of the Hillside Block Club, and we was, the Hillside Block Club was up there by Klein and Colfax. Yeah, it was. We did a. Go ahead, Commissioner Henry.
Well, I'm just glad to see that our public safety is getting involved into those two issues, the block club and the other one that you talked of, because they were always in our community, and it worked then. My question is, if we can have capacity to become nonprofit, where we can get our own grants and we don't have to fight with community block grant money for that money, because we used it at one time and I think we got a ding for it. But we gotta find some way to finance block clubs, and on that issue of the, what you call it? Yeah, the neighborhood watch. Every old woman in Benton Harbor was part of the neighborhood watch, and they watched and told on things. So we we need to put an extra effort through our public safety and see if they can we can organize it. I've been talking nonprofit for a long time, and I want to see every block club become a nonprofit, where they can write their own grants. They can ask community block grant money for the things that they need.
Chief McGinnis.
Since we got to block clubs, I have not had a chance to talk to Mr. Little yet. So this is kind of extemporaneous discussion, and he can jump in. So kind of my vision of this thing.
What that word mean?
Big word.
You know, I got smacked in the head with a cup of ice, so I'm still concussed. She saw you smack me in the head. Okay.
Yeah, I did. Sorry.
So here, because you raise a good point, and from my research, a lot of block clubs are actually ran out of CD because they have money. And also, so what my idea, again, I'm putting this out there, I'd like to have Mr. Little jump in because we haven't actually had a discussion on this. So this is, again, a very quick discussion. I'd like to see us have an authority for the city. So, for example, a block club association, because in the past, Hillside, Neighbors and Partners, AGARD, HERD, with all the streets, kind of operate individually. And the reason why we struggled for years for block club, because there was really no central authority that kind of kept up on them and made sure that, you know, there was information and resources and whatnot. So in my mind, the public safety department would be kind of like the arm of the block club program through CD, that we would go out, get them started. Again, I just go to meetings on Saturdays, get them started, make sure that they register with the Block Club Association that's in CD. You're supposed to jump in any time. That's with CD. So that way we have that record. And again, if funds do come down or things do happen, it's there. So it's public safety initiating it, but I think in order to make sure we have a system in place and have the block clubs start to move in perpetuity, meaning once we start them, they're always there. It needs to be, in my humble opinion, coordinated through one of the city departments, preferably CED, that we have an authority, and then from there we get the block clubs, the watches, and those things. So that's just my thought on it. Again, this is our first time discussing it. You have a lot of experience with that, Mr. Little, and of course, we're going to follow your direction in the commissions.
Well, generally, it's a good idea. I just think we may have to, depending upon exactly what we decide is needed to support that effort, find a way to fund it. Unfortunately, what has occurred with HUD over the years, and it's like everything, certain things just start out in the early part and certain things are allowable. Situations occur and whatnot, they change the rules and decide that something else doesn't fit and something else does. But that's kind of what's happened with that, where we're not allowed to just fund that kind of situation. But doesn't mean that between all of the resources available to the city that possibly something else couldn't be put together.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna move on to Public Works. Anything on Public Works, Mr. Meek? We are prepared for winter.
Yeah, and I wanted.
Push your button.
I wanted to take the opportunity again, appeal to the public to do what it can to get as many of these leaves up as possible, especially out of the curbs and gutters. Bag them up so we can pick them up and try to get rid of them for you. The more you're able to do that and the more it clears those gutters in the street, the better your result is going to be when it starts raining or snowing and then it starts melting, because those leaves stop up those drains, and when it does that, it's just going to spread out into the street. And if it gets deep enough, depending upon the relative height of your house to the street, you could wind up with water in your basements and whatnot. But anything you can do to help clean those out, pay dividends for you and for the city.
Compliance with raking your leaves out in the some people rake their leaves out there in the.
Which is exactly what we're asking them not to do. They need to be picking those leaves up and bagging them.
All leaves supposed to be raked and bagged up. You don't supposed to rake them to the curb.
With Representative Fields.
Is there a designated day for leaf pickup?
Fridays.
Paper bags?
Yes, ma'am.
There's no yard waste trash can, like, I know Township or St. Joe Township, some of them have like different containers, so they should only be in the Lowe's or whoever paper bag.
Well, the city doesn't have a yard waste can for anyone. You have to put them in the paper bags, or if you have a yard waste can, we will dump it.
Is this on the website, clerk?
If I might also, I believe part of the rule, and Demetrius, you can help me with this, if you've got sticks or branches that need to be disposed of, if they're broken and tied up in bundles, and they shouldn't be any longer than how many inches?
3 foot.
Okay. Then they'll pick them up. If they're more than that, they won't get picked up.
Right. Commissioner Henry.
Thank you, Chair. And this is gonna open up me an avenue to say, we need a monthly newsletter to let the citizens know when we're gonna pick the leaves up, whatever we need to do, that newsletter needs to be established. And this is another reason why, because of information about the leaves. Some people don't know that they cannot rake it into the street. Cause where they came from, they street people came and cleaned them up. So they don't know, and we have to have some newsletter to keep our people aware of what's going on. So, get on board, Chair.
Letter.
I'm asking you to get on board for that newsletter.
I'm
I'm
on-
gonna bring it up every week,
I know.
the opportunity that it comes up. And it looks bad when I keep saying, there's a reason why we need a newsletter and we still don't have it. Thank you, Chair.
Thinking maybe we can get that post about a water department, payment center, leaf pickup and, different.
Whatever you got to do, just do it.
Okay,
That's the key.
thank you, Commissioner Henry. Commissioner Kennard.
Chair, I'd like to know what season or what year will we be using the street sweeper? We've had it approximately how long? And I don't see it being used. If it's used, maybe what's in the season? And I think that's the point of having it, to use it when it's needed.
I think we had the street sweep about a year and a half, but Mr. Meeks can answer that.
It was out last week.
Where?
It's been out. It's been out. It was out all on your side of town last week, ma'am. And,
It don't pick up
but
leaves
it was on your side of town last week.
in Third Ward.
And the thing about the street sweeper is, like I say, the city got a lot of operation that's going on. It's hard to have a street sweeper out every day when you have not enough people. So if I had enough people, I could have a street sweeper out a lot more. But right at this point in time, I don't have it. And garbage is one of the main things I have to get up every day.
Garbage from what?
Residence house.
Oh, I was speaking mainly about the street sweeper, not the trash. I know that.
I said, if we had the people that I could have people on garbage every day instead of having to flip-flop people around, I could have a street sweeper out every day. But I don't have it, so people call in, I had to put people here, put people there. It'd be limited on people.
I think it's also important for people to understand that that street sweeper cannot be even half the efficiency it should be, again, with all those leaves, because those brushes are not designed to pick up leaves, dig into 2 inches of dirt that's in mud, that's in the gutter, and that kind of thing. Now, I have been trying to pursue funding through grants to get some additional equipment that could help with that. I'm sure you've seen when construction crews out doing streets and whatnot, they use a tractor with a big roller brush in the front that turns over, that has bristles as thick as my finger, and they cut into that stuff and dig it up. But the brushes on a street sweeper are not designed to do that, and they can't do it, and all they'll do is burn them out, and we'll have to buy more brushes to go on them. The machine won't be able to get where it should go or do what it should do. And I think it's important. We can't ignore those basic facts. Street sweepers are not designed to pick up leaves or to dig up mud. There's still a street there underneath that stuff that once we can get that out of the way, we can do what we need to do. You have to start somewhere. Now, right now, that street sweeper could probably go down some parts of, because I ride down the street and look at the condition of them. Pipestone, for the most part, you can see most of the curb and so forth down there. That street sweeper can sweep down Pipestone. I think some parts of Broadway the same way, but then there are other parts that it wouldn't.
Thank you. Representative Fields, you have a question before we close out?
Never mind.
Mr. Duncan?
I still have a drain out in front of my house was making a lot of noise. I've asked about it, I've laughed, joked, and everything else about it, and it's still making noise. And I'm not gonna point any fingers, but I'd like to get that through the chair. I would like to get that taken care of as soon as possible. The weather's finna change, and to hear that noise all night is not gonna be fun. We've been here before, 5, 6, last year, all of that. Now, I'm just asking to get it taken care of. We got Albemarle here right now. Point your finger at them, ask them to do it, and you won't hear me say anything else about it because the job will be taken care of.
Mr. Duncan, this past Tuesday's meeting with Marsh, we talked about that, and they're looking at options for how to quieten that for you.
Okay. Can I give you a suggestion? Cause I can give you a suggestion how to quiet it down. Put a lot of rubber in there, thick rubber, or something where this can,
I tried that.
well, get some different rubber.
It didn't seal right when I did that.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna wait. I've been waiting this long. I can keep on waiting, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. Commissioner Henry.
Well, when you go down Main Street and you hit 2 or 3 of them manholes, they go blah, 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 blah. Some don't make any noise. Then some, I said, whoever's standing in this house is gonna hear every one of these. So, March, that's your job to make sure that the jobs is done correctly and 100%. So, right in here, if you think you got a complaint here, when you hear 2 of them, 2 tires hitting them, that's really loud. All up and down Main Street. Brand new stuff.
Thank you. The city manager said they talked about that in discussion the other
No,
day.
they only talked about that one. I'm talking about all of them.
We'll drive Main Street. We'll make sure that's good.
Keep Public Works. Moving on to MDOT. MDOT M139 Fair Avenue Pavement Use Review.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, Jason.
I have a couple presentations, just to kind of move some things forward. All right, yeah, the first one is just a couple quick slides. If you remember, a year ago or so, MDOT came to you all and talked about the conversion, the Fair Avenue and Martin Luther King M139 project that they plan on doing in 2026. At the time, they came to you guys for a vote of essentially converting the southbound Fair Avenue to a city street that the city would maintain. They would receive Act 51 dollars. So that all moved forward and went through the process. What I'm here to talk to you tonight about is MDOT's come to us and come to the city manager's office and staff. They're pretty much getting ready to, they're finalizing their preliminary design, moving into the final design. So one of the things that they asked preliminarily at the first meeting was, what do you guys want to see as the actual pavement use out there? So I'm going to go through that very quickly here to kind of show what that is. But these slides are from, if you recall, it was June of 2023. MDOT is planning on reconstructing this entire corridor from Main Street, M139 in the Benton Township, there as it passes Napier by where it says M139 on that map, and then all the way up to the business loop here in the city limits. I do know that they're working on through some funding items. They may not be able to do the entire project But what they will be doing at a minimum is the work that needs to happen in the city limits to M139 in Benton Township. So the good thing for the city is they are moving forward with this, with the Fair Avenue conversion, just like as their schedule says in 2026. So that was just an overview, if you guys recall. Great project, I think, for the area, and really transformed that side of town. Very quickly, this was a slide that they had, but if you can zoom in there, it's in your presentation, or it's in your link. Essentially, what you have out there right now, that's all southbound traffic on Fair Avenue, is 36 foot wide. It's multiple lanes, it's completely in very bad shape. You have 5 foot sidewalks on each side, and it's all just, southbound. So, the new pavement, you'll have northbound and southbound traffic. I might refer to it later, but I kind of compare it maybe to like what McCord north to south feels like, Pipestone perhaps, a little bit of Riverview Drive, although you're on the riverside. But, it's those north-south corridors through town that this will ultimately look like, with residential and commercial on each side. So what we're looking at here, just the options that they are presenting us for the city to decide on. The pavement width is going to essentially stay right where it's at. All right, so they're still planning on giving you 36 foot of pavement, but the two options are going to be having northbound, southbound traffic with a center turn lane. So you actually have a lane to turn left and right on, or you won't have a center lane and you will have north and southbound bike paths. So really quick, this is what the center turn lane option would be. That is right there, kind of by the bus apartments, is what they gave us for the rendering. So, what's that? So northbound, southbound actions, and you would have a center turn lane. You can have a center turn lane, but you guys don't really have center turn lanes in the city. If you can recall, we actually came to you on a project that the city is doing on Britton Avenue, there by the water tower, and it's got a center turn lane, and we actually talked about reducing that lane width to just one lane in each direction and installing bike lanes. So this would be what each scenario has the curbs at the same location, but it's just a matter of basically restriping that, so it's what the use that you guys would like. So with the residential feel, one of the things was our recommendation was to utilize the bike lanes. A lot of bike lanes that we're trying to push through in the city to get some bike lane use. We just don't see the need for the center turn lane out there. There's, and remember that the southbound and the northbound traffic will essentially, there'll be two new roads. And with the MDOT traffic, all mostly staying on the Martin Luther King side when they do that part of the project. So we anticipate, that's going to be a higher traveled speedway, roadway. So you're going to get some traffic off of this. But you got these two options, and really, I don't know if you wanted to take this in front of the commission, but I think last time we just talked about, providing MDOT the decision on which ones you guys would prefer. And like I said, the pavement width stays the same. They got to start doing their next steps in design, and this cross section is needed for them. So, and that's it for that first one. Oops.
So Jason, with that right there now, the speed limit is 40 miles an hour. With that, the north and southbound traffic like that, would it change to like residential 35, 25 or whatever?
It would be reduced. They're also talking to city about stop signs and whether or not signals are warranted, which we don't think a signal is going to be warranted. But they want to know where you want to have stop intersections, stop control intersections along that corridor. But yes, your speed would be reduced in that instance. It would be just like, I don't know the exact speed that MDOT would propose, but I could see it being very similar to McCord or 25 or a Pipestone or something of that nature. Yeah.
Any questions for Fair Avenue, it's north southbound. Commissioner Henry.
Where will those bike lanes connect up to?
Southbound, you'll have it go, let me see if I can pull up that map here. So this map here just shows the limits that Fair Avenue conversion is. I don't have a point, maybe I do. So up here, it ties into the business loop, which the business loop has the bike lane, Main Street. Yep, that's correct. So you do have a connection down there that will get you downtown. When you get down to the southerly limits of the city, they're gonna have that roundabout there. Right now, I don't know exactly where it would be at, but the other positive on that would be at some point when Ox Creek gets developed and things that you'll be able to connect that on-street bike path with something that would be proposed down there. So,
That's typical. We have bike trails that stop and go nowhere.
Yeah.
And the county is ignoring us, and it looks like the state is ignoring us too. But now, let me understand that roundabout you were just speaking of. Where is that? Is that where you are right there with that?
So as part of the project, MDOT is looking at a roundabout right there at Empire and 139. So,
Okay.
let me go back here.
Empire.
Yep, so it would be on the Martin Luther King side, if you want to call it that, where the roundabout would be connected to, really the northbound highway traffic, if you want to call it that. The yellow section and the orange section would tie into that roundabout off that residential, with your guys' new, Fair Avenue conversion.
So coming in from the south to the north, that's coming in from M139?
Yes, so,
That's
right,
a pretty large and fast street to come right into the neighborhood, the projects with a lot of little kids running, even though the speed's gonna be 25, who goes 25 miles an hour on Pipestone? So,
Which street are you referring to?
I'm
the new Fair
referring to M139 connecting up to,
Not cutting you off, but Martin Luther King would be 282.
Yep.
oh, they're not taking Martin Luther King away, it's gonna,
It's going Martin Luther King.
Yeah, that's gonna be the
It'll
state
be there
highway.
too. That'll be the highway.
okay,
Yeah.
now I gotta understand it, thank you.
Yeah, Fair Avenue, that's southbound now, turns into a new residential city street on the city, easterly city limits of the city. So, I mean, you get a brand new street with that, the only one I have is,
And-
yes, that's southbound Fair Avenue.
Yes. And basically, that would be just local residents using that street.
Okay, I got you, I got you, thank you. That makes sense to me now.
So, yes, right now, we're just looking at what you guys would prefer, if you want us to go to MDOT to talk to them about keeping the center turn, or, looking at the center turn lane option, or promoting it with bike lanes.
And if I might, we right now do have some, as Commissioner said, some bicycle lanes that don't hook up, but that's because we've just started that process lately. There is a plan to hook them up. Just like, for example, the non-motorized trail that we have planned for coming through Ox Creek. I was just out yesterday morning looking, just across from Ox Creek there. If you're going to where Southwest Michigan Community Action Agency has their facility there for storing, just before you get there, that path runs right along the edge, crosses over the bridge, and goes right on around. And that's half a block from where and not even a half a block from where we're talking about going. It'll start to connect up once we get it all put together.
Good, good, good.
Think- Commission,
My next concern is, we've been looking at asthma for the last 2 years in Benton Harbor, and it's an epidemic. And the material that we're using to put on the street will cause anyone with asthma to have attack. And that's asphalt. I mean, they're gonna put a lot of it down, and it's right there in front of the projects with all those little asthmatic babies. And I don't know what the state of Michigan gonna do, but I do know that the governor wants us to look at alternative materials and healthier things. So I'm just bringing it up because I know that the asthma issue is something serious and people are dying from it. Children are not making it because of asthma. And if asphalt is part of the problem, we need to start talking about changing our ways. Thank you.
Jason, you got any response? You heard it.
Yeah, MDOT goes through their normal due diligence on what's the best material for the application, but I'll pass that along to them as part of their consideration.
We'll move that forward.
Yeah, so, I mean, just, I don't know how you guys want to approach this, but do you guys have a consensus on which one you like more than the other? Or is it okay? Do you want to move it for discussion for the full body, or, like I said, I think last time we did it either at a planning commission. I don't have a problem with either way, but,
Make the
That,
decision.
I like that concept better, like it slows down traffic, and I like riding bikes, and bike riding is healthy. Right, Miss Commissioner Henry, I mean, we can ride a bike together up and down. Yeah, let's go with that concept, Jason, right there.
that's what we would recommend. It's very similar to what you're trying to do in the entire city limits, so.
Move that forward. Next, we got to,
No, she need to ask her question. She's a resident.
You can.
Representative Fields, you have the floor.
The next time.
Oh, good.
I got a question. So if he don't show, if Jason,
Talk loud.
if Jason don't show both the side to the full body, or it'll go to a community and they don't choose?
No, we just, with the bike trails.
You gonna do the bike trail without coming full body?
Bike trail,
That's right.
the bike trail.
Move it forward. Don't
Thank you.
kick it down
Let's
the road.
move. Yep, thank you.
Is that the only thing can ride on the bike trail is a bike?
They're on street, so it would be only for bikers. Only for
Electric bikes.
yeah, but you could use electric bike, yeah, but you would, it's not a non-motorized separate path for like walking. Would be a dedicated on-street bike lane, similar to what we're planning on doing at Colfax and also now on Brickton Avenue. So, you have it, I think, on McCord? There's some on McCord, yeah, yep.
Thank you.
I should mention that I believe there's also going to be like a 6-foot sidewalk, isn't there?
That is right, yep, so they'll replace all the sidewalk from right-of-way to right-of-way in that whole corridor. Yep.
Thank you, Jason. Next, we have Ingle Water Funding Update and Amendment Presentation.
Make sure my. Tiffany, can you try to read it? There it goes. What am I doing here?
Where's her caseworker? Somebody.
Point of order. Point of order.
Casework. I love that one.
We both share the same one.
See, now you have to get vicious.
Point of order.
Hurry up.
What is your question pertaining to?
So the speed, were you gonna come back and decide on speed, or was there the suggested speeds? Because I like the 25.
It's actually would be right to MDOT, but I can ask them that, because it's MDOT design and everything else, and
Yes, 20.
And my other question was, okay, so the other side of the street is township. Are they going in on this? Because one side of the bike trail is gonna be,
it's, the entire
No.
street right now, yep. The entire street right now is basically within the city of Benton Harbor. So the city of Benton Harbor has the final jurisdiction on how the end use is gonna be, so, yes.
Chief McGinnis.
So with that being said, where is our east border going to be now?
On the other side, like they always said.
Is now, the only thing on the east side of the present Fair Avenue that belongs to the city is bus projects. But everything else is in the township on that side of the street.
That's not true. We're not so, hold on. That's not, Mr.
Point of order. Hold on. What?
I'm sorry, I'm having a little bit of troubles here. It's like looking at a second screen or something.
Go
You had a
ahead.
question or concern,
Go
Commissioner?
ahead, Commissioner.
Isn't there some houses on Fair Avenue, and they belong to the city of Benton Harbor? So I'm saying that our property goes further than that, because all of that area before you get to Britain belongs to us. And they got plans for it. That's why they running all them people away.
I don't believe all of it is. Primarily, if you look at a map, you'll show the line going around bus projects and coming back. But when you get up there where Mildred Wells and those are in the township.
Go ahead. All right. Thank you, Jason. Move forward.
Yeah, sorry, it took me a few minutes, but,
Ingo Water Funding Update and Amendment Presentation.
so this presentation, I'm gonna go through it pretty quick. There's a lot of numbers up here. What you guys do have in your packet is an overall sheet that this presentation is gonna summarize. What's gonna come forward as a part of a grant amendment from the Eagle is to update the grant agreement between the city and Eagle on the money that was provided as the grant dollars for the $45 million for the water infrastructure funding. So this is kind of the next step to get some of the projects that were awarded properly defined in your guys' funding strategy and reimbursement requests for Eagle, between the Eagle and city. So there's a lot to that, but the grant says a certain thing that was provided in 2021. A lot of projects were estimated. A lot of projects were on that list. As we have gotten bids and looked at the scope further and all that, this is the next step on making sure that the city can pay the contractors and look at seeing how the basically remaining money is being spent. So I'm gonna go through this quickly and then we can talk through questions. So The agenda is really just to review the approved funding that you guys have received by Eagle with the Public Act 53 funding. I'm going to show you quickly reviewing the cost to date. And then we're going to review the projected amendments that was going to come to you guys for, a resolution to adopt a grant agreement revision from the state. So in your packet, in your electronic packet, this is the nuts and bolts of what I'm going to be talking about. Like I said, I'm going to summarize it. I'm not going to read it off here, but you have this in your packet. It pretty much reads just like these slides are. So the approved Eagle grant funding that you guys received was separated into 4 tasks. Task 1 was the lead service line replacement. If you recall, that $18 million was the shortfall that was awarded very beginning in the process of lead services, and the state provided the city X dollars, but it wasn't enough, and so they did this grant agreement for additional funding that covered that shortfall. So the total was 18 million there, just over 18 million. Task 2 had treatment plant improvements. There was some projects at the water plant that have been underway that continue. That number was 4.8 million and some change. Task 3 was the distribution system upgrades. Those are the projects like Division Columbus, Maine Monroe, Green and Edwards. That was where that pot of money was. And then Task 4 had some contractual support services for people like, there was a consultant named John Young doing the TMF report, if you guys recall. So that entire program is $45 million. That's what the city received and signed off as part of the grant agreement. So what we have now remaining. So the first one, the numbers on the left were the ones I just read off. As of this past September, those have been the expenditures to date. So remember, as I was telling you guys on the lead service line replacement, came in under budget. Great. So there's $1.8 million to be utilized in some form or fashion with the city. So right now, Eagle thinks it's being used for lead services, but we want to move that into a different project now, since it's under budget. The water treatment plant, 4.8, like I mentioned on the other side, there's been about 2.6 exhausted there on the projects at the plant. So there's 2 million there. The distribution projects, as you see them out there, actually 21, we spent about half that. So the 10.5 million is for projects like the East Britain area that you guys just awarded, the McAllister, Pavone, and Broadway, and those are the 2 I'm thinking. Oh, and Pipestone area sewer. Remember, I'm going to probably confuse you a little bit. Remember, you do have the sewer fund that's tied in with this. This is just trying to explain what's going to happen to the water fund when Eagle sends you guys a grant agreement. And then the contractual support services. So just out of that 45 million that was received, the city has spent 30 million of it, and we're down to the last 15 on the projects that are coming up in 2025 and into 26. So just quickly, doing the math there, 1.8 there. The distribution system upgrades, I'm going to talk about this next, because this is kind of why the amendment's needed. So we estimated that Eagle at 21.7. Well, with our current bids and our current estimates, we're projecting at 22.7. And that also, I'll show you, some of the projects on that first list, we have to think about, we have to take off. It's just, they're not going to be funded with this initial grant run. So you have a little bit of money to reallocate. So as part of that, there are projects that the city is doing as part of the sewer funds, that the sewer funds do not allow water infrastructure being replaced on the sewer funds. So when you do a sewer project that's programmed through the CWSRF, the Clean Water State Revolving Fund process, they are not allowing the water funds. So on some of the projects, like on McAllister, Pavone, and Broadway, we have a project on Vineyard coming up as part of the East Britain project, and the Pipestone. There are water main needs that we would like the city to do that aren't funded. So we need to tell Eagle Water, hey, to utilize some of this money, we want to be able to move some of that fund over so that we can cover the water costs on those specifically. Now, The water fund did allow the city to do both water, sanitary, and storm on the water fund. So if you can think about that, when the water fund grant was set up, instead of having just water projects, sewer and sanitary sewer was basically increased the price of the project. So that's why the fund has been utilized, used more than that. So these projects here, the city just awarded all three of these just recently. McAllister Pavone and Broadway's being done out there. These are all sewer funded projects. We want to tell Eagle and request them that we want to move $803,000 from the water fund to those projects, because it wasn't written originally that way. And these are just the water main cost on those projects. These projects are, $6-7 million, but the actual water infrastructure is $800,000 on that one. Vineyard was a sewer funded project. We want to replace the 4-inch main on that line, or on that street. The Pipestone project, I talked about that last month. Pipestone has a little segment off of Pipestone on Foster that we want to replace the water main on Foster. That was 127. So with all that money, we want to tell Eagle, hey, we want to allocate some new distribution projects that we want to move some of the underruns over to there. So that's one request. This is taken right from the grant agreement. So at the when this was put together in 2021, you have all of these projects on there. To the left, you have Division Columbus, Edwards and Green, that's combined in one. You have 8th Street, where the water main was broke that one instance a couple falls ago. East Britain water main improvements, we just awarded that contract. Colfax Avenue, that is actually currently out to bid, utilizing MDOT funds, and we'll get to that for your number 3 item on your agenda. Main Street that we just did. Superior and Ogden is going to be a project probably in the late 2025 or early 26. McAllister is part of that, McAllister Pavone and Broadway. South Windsor water main improvements. Monroe's part of the Maze project. We have Nolan, Madison, and Winans. And then they had Fair and High Street. And remember, I just talked about Fair. So those were the initial totals in those projects that got to 21 million. Now remember, a lot of these older estimates was just water main improvements. And put together quite some time ago, costs for construction have gone up since COVID. So I put this comparison together here just to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at. Division Columbus, so you can see right there, the 1.8 million that was on the Eagle grant. And the final project cost on Division Columbus, including storm sewer and sanitary sewer, was 3.3 million. Edwards and Green, if you combine those up, 700 and 600, you're 1.3. The final cost to replace the sewers as well as everything else came in at 2.6. 8th Street, we were projecting to remove that project. That is, we had earmarked $3 million for that on 8th Street. If the city is going to do work on 8th Street, that might be even a bigger project, because you don't only have the 20-inch main at that location. You have other 20-inch transmission mains out there. So we decided to take that one off. East Britain, you had 1.8 in water funds. We're doing storm and sanitary through the water, so that is 3.7. Now, there are some other sewer funds that you guys have that are associated with these projects. So it's trying to get as much bang for your buck as you guys can. Colfax was estimated $1 million. The estimated amount that hasn't been bid yet. But we want to make sure that they account for the water funding in Colfax, which they do. But don't forget, I'll put a note on that. It's also sewer funded and MDOT funded. So keep the MDOT funded in mind. May Street in Monroe, big project, 6.2 million. Superior Ogden, we had $3 million earmarked for that. The estimate now is at 4.4. These are some big projects that include, all sanitary sewer replacement. McAllister, Pavone, and Broadway. Say, for instance, McAllister is only listed on this for Eagle funding, but then you guys receive sewer funds the Pavone and Broadway and McAllister. So, like, that's why the project is 7.5. There's a lot of sewer funds in there. So if you add up all that, and then the three projects, well, I guess the South Windsor water main improvements, you gotta remove one project and just basically push it down to your 5-year capital improvement plan, or when you can fund these next improvements. The South Windsor water main improvements, that was taken off the list. Monroe, I scratched out. Monroe's done. It was with the May Street project. And then, Nowland, Madison, and Winans was another project I think we just had to take off the list. Fair and High Avenue, remember, High Avenue is with the project above, but remember, I just talked about Fair Avenue. Fair Avenue is gonna be completed by NDOT in 26, so that would come off this list. So it would have to be funded by EDA. So there's a lot there, but that's the method of putting this fund together. So, just in summary, we want to make sure we talk to Eagle about reallocating that lead service under budget. We want to put that to the distribution projects that you guys are currently working on. We want to request Eagle to reallocate those costs on the water, the sewer projects that do not have the water funding on them, and that was at 1.1 that I mentioned. And then essentially remove the projects that cannot be funded on the grant to get to that 45 million. So after this presentation, Eagle is going to prepare a grant amendment that would come to you guys to push through to the full commission for approval. It is time of the essence, because on work that's being done even now, or if there's a water fund that's changed on this and the city puts out a reimbursement to the state without having this grant agreement in place or amended, the state won't reimburse the city yet until this is done. So there's a lot going on there, but that's really what this presentation was about, to reallocate your guys' funding to the contracts that you guys are awarded.
Moving. Any questions? All right.
I know there's a lot there.
That's a lot, yeah. Go ahead, Representative Fields.
What was the work for, what was it, Madison, Nolan, and Winans? What was the work?
Replacing the water main. Yeah, I mean, these are all projects that are just as part of your capital improvement plan. And so, and actually, it doesn't show on here because I maximized the way the screen. When you guys submitted to Eagle, you submitted for more than these projects. And there's projects under this list that we just left off at that time too. So really, these just come right down to that. These would be the next water projects that you guys would try to do if you go for, get grant funding down the road, try to put in your budget. But those would be the next targeted on your next capital improvement projects. Yeah.
Any more questions about that?
Just
City
a point,
manager.
Jason, when we go in to replace water, because we're going into the street and so forth, don't we also try to deal with the sewer and whatever else is in there?
We absolutely take a look at that. Absolutely. There are projects that, some of the projects we have scoped out. We have, the only one that we have not done that on is some of the areas over what we're calling the East Britain area project, over there in the Warwick Pickens area. And we're starting to look at that. We're starting to look at that as well. But like on Pipestone, it's a sewer funded project. So you're placing the sewer, but that water main I mentioned last time, it's a 16-inch newer water main. So that's not being replaced. We haven't seen many issues with that water main on that. So if we go in and we change a 4-inch water main out on a residential city street, normally the sanitary sewer is in extremely old condition, fair condition, that we want to replace at the same time. If you only replace water main on those streets, you repave it, we anticipate you digging something up because the sewer is going to collapse or something of that nature. So.
a lot of money we putting in our city. And I wanna ask the chair if he read section 3, the two policies that we have for section 3. And if he hasn't, that he should, because section 3, all of this money is funneled down from federal government. All of this money is part of section 3. And we have, so they say, because I don't have any proof that it's 25% for the subcontractor, or that we have a contractor that as hiring been out of residence. They talk the good game, but they don't give us any proof that these are our residents and that 25% of that subcontracting is viable. So now, all of this money, and we have no jobs, we have not connected up with any of the apprenticeship program, anybody. So, I'm gonna bring it up because it's horrible to see your own people like this. It's okay for the ones that's got jobs and bringing in a few dollars, but the ones that are not, that need the help, and we have the opportunity to give them help, and we don't do it, shame, shame on us. And I'm asking for proof for everything that they say that they're doing. And so far, no proof. They just talk a good game. And that's not acceptable.
Mr. Chairman, in fairness to ourselves, in fact, I was hounded, for want of a better word, about not having had time to get to providing the information on Section 3. I sent that Section 3 information out over a week ago now, I believe almost 2 weeks, and apparently it wasn't read. First off, Section 3 does not apply to transportation money, it applies to HUD money. Secondly, it's not 25% of the employees, it's 25% of the hours. But that's for Section 3 determined residents and Section 3 qualified businesses. And in fact, what I sent out was the very last document that this city has done officially on Section 3, which was done in 2012 by your emergency manager. And the document's about that thick, and in it has all of these different pieces, and I put a cover sheet on it to explain. What's there details out what actually exists and is required. That number one, the city does not have the staff to do what's in there. It requires you to set up a procedure and qualify Section 3 businesses, set up a procedure and qualify and maintain a list of Section 3 eligible participants. And there's more detailed work there than what we have to do for the whole CDBG program. But as I said in the memo, we will, and I think where the confusion had come up about the 25% is that in the 2021 amendment to Section 3, they clarified and put in that 25% of the labor hours. It never was 25% of the personnel. But I just want to mention that because I sent that to everybody.
But Commissioner Henry,
But Chair, the 25% for subcontractors, it's a different, resolution that was passed by the body. So we, over the years, have tried to fix this problem, and we put legal documents voted on to approve, and nothing, very little has happened. And that's got to change, especially after this new election. We need to be very particular of who we're dealing with and who we're looking out for. Because life is not going to be the same in America for a long time. So I would suggest that we come back to the table and make sure that we get jobs and training for our people. And now you're gonna have Public Works say we can't do the work because we don't have the people. That's a problem. If you can't get the service for the people because you don't have a worker, because you're so straight and narrow that you gotta give a drug test, you gotta have a driver's license to drive a lawnmower. If you don't set up things that's friendly to people and make it a human infrastructure improvement, we're not going anywhere. We're going to go backwards. Completely backwards. So if we don't change our ways, we get the same thing that we got now, poverty.
Commissioner Kennard?
Yes. One of the things that I have asked once before, and I'd like to ask once again, and I'd like a straight answer, yes or no. It was originally said that the city income tax, that anyone working in the city of Benton Harbor pays into the city income tax. I want to know if all of the work that's being done, are these persons that is working in the city are paying into the city income tax? Yes or no?
City Manager?
I can only say I've been asking the same question. I mean, I haven't been in this seat forever, but it's one of the things that I'm also asking and starting to take measures to try and help make sure that they are.
How soon will I have the answer?
Was the answer.
Can I ask a question?
Mr. Duncan?
Who are, through the chair, who are the people that we're talking about, asking about this?
The city has had, since income tax was set up, Ms. Lisa Galladay has been functioning as the income tax administrator. What they were doing, they're continuing to do at the point that I came into this process. Now, since assuming this acting role back in the end of April, I guess it was, the one other person that she had that was assisting her is no longer there. We are in the process of recruiting someone for that position right now. I rewrote the job description on it because there's certain things I want built into that description so it's clearly understood what the income tax related duties are of that person as well as a person to supervise them. So we're starting to make the improvements. I don't know if you noticed that the water contract that was just approved a week ago had a line in there that said specifically as a part of the contract that City of Benton Harbor has an income tax And you as a contractor understand that you're liable to see to it that work that's done in the city by employees are, that income tax is withheld and deposited. And we're going to start doing that on all contracts. Now, that's what I'm doing. That, I can't be responsible for what happened before I got here.
Thank you. All right.
So
We're gonna move this, huh?
That don't sound right.
I just wanted to, I only asked, who was he talking to about it? Was Lisa Galladay the answer, or we went into a
Yes.
lot of other stuff?
Lisa Galladay, but also talking with Abin Marsh in terms of we want to make sure they explain to them that that's going to be in these contracts and any other contractors that we're working at. Folks that are going to be involved with Ox Creek and any, the high water grant and any other grants that come through. I've got to sign them all, and before I sign them, it's going to be in there. And then I wanted to explain to people that it's going to be enforced.
All right, we can bring that up too at the Personnel and Finance Committee meeting next week about this. Ms. Kennard, you want to say something for Commission?
I wanted to get the straight answer as to who should be responsible for it, even from the start up until whenever Mr. Little took over. And that's one of the reasons I feel that Benton Harbor is in such a financial bind all the time, is because there's some that is making dollars more so than those that's flipping a few burgers that got the little mediocre jobs. And they're not able to pay what the ones that are really making the big money, they could help balance out. What we need is to take care of our city.
We'll discuss it. Next week is Personnel and Finance Committee meeting. We can discuss it. City Manager, you want one more word on this?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, because it's important to understand that since the emergency manager fiasco years ago, the city was left in a deficient position as far as staffing and experience and that kind of thing. Today, I hate to have to tell you this, but I called up, had called up the gas company and the water company to terminate the meters that we were getting charged over $400 a month for 200 pawpaw. There's been nobody in 200 pawpaw for years. But I terminated it today. And I'm looking at some other stuff that's we're paying that, I mean, this stuff has to be watched. No, you won't be able to, because that's just like our ready-to-serve charge for water meters. If the meter's left there, people pay a ready-to-serve charge even though they're not using water, and they don't get reimbursed. We won't either. But I'm just telling you, there's a lot of things like that it just takes time and somebody who's a detail-oriented person to look it up. I'm sitting there looking and I'm seeing and in fact, I raised that question almost 2 years ago, and then I never noticed it again, that I saw 200 pawpaw on the gas bills.
All right, we'll bring that up. Finance Committee meeting. Next, we have a resolution accepting the grant for Colfax and Reconstruction Project.
Yeah, so real quick, as I was bringing up in that last presentation, if you recall, I said Colfax, it has MDOT funding, sewer funding, and water funding. This is to move towards the full body to have a resolution that allows the city manager sign to accept this grant from MDOT to cover $1.162 million of the cost of that project. So this is the same process as the city did with the Pipestone resurfacing project. Same process that happened and occurred when Empire was resurfaced. This is the mechanism that allows MDOT accepting that grant dollar so that that project can proceed forward with that federal funding from MDOT.
This project from Colfax to
Colfax, from Main Street to Market.
Market.
Yep, and that is currently on the MDOT's bid letting schedule. It's anticipated the bid December 6th. We would think, we have a time frame of that project to happen pretty much next year's construction season. Once they start, they have, I think it's 120, it might be 4 months to get that job done. So we'll have to work just like any other construction project that we have, but it's lined up for next year. The MDOT process is usually pretty smooth. You usually get pretty good numbers from contractors, and I think it's a nice project to happen over in the area.
Fully funded.
It is fully funded. There is, even the match dollars that are required for the, so usually it's an 80-20 grant, 80% federal. Remember, Colfax has the water and the sewer funds, so your match is being accommodated with your grant funds that you're putting towards the project. So there's no normal funded, city-funded funds going to the project.
Work sounds good. Thank you. Any questions on this project? Grant money, free money, funded money. Grant money. Thank you so much, Jason. We move that forward. We have public comments. Public comments, 3 minutes. Oh, Commissioner Kennard. Let me run the meeting. Commissioner Kennard. Commissioner Kennard.
Suggestion. Now, you told me so many times that we'll have a finance director in here. He will take care of anything coming in or going out. This here keeps a tap into where the money is at all times. That's his responsibility. Sometimes people got their plate so full with everything, they can't keep up with it, or it's just used as an excuse. So I'm just saying, by charter, we're supposed to have a finance director in here at all times to keep up with the dollar. We can never move forward if we don't have things in place. And you're working against your own charter.
We, Commissioner, you a commissioner too.
On that point, we paid a gentleman for 6 or 7 months as a finance director who basically came in with nothing to do but to look and learn and whatnot. The electric bill and the water bill, both that I shut off today, were right there. He didn't see it. So what about this magical finance director? And for that matter, so you know, look at your bill list. It's been on there.
We've had 2 of them that left under the same circumstances. 2. So everything that comes along is wrong but here.
Prepare the bill list and send it up.
Miguel, you got a question?
Are we still looking for a city manager? Are there still?
There's interviews this Monday.
This Monday? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Miguel. Anything else? Meeting